Yes, I chose this year to talk about women being backbone for each other, women being supportive to women, women, rising up for women. That is my, I put it in my own slogan as in, we should not be limited by our limitations. And in today's world, every woman collectively we can take up the challenge to face the challenge in today's world. How can we do that? When we decide consciously to rise up for ourselves, when we decide consciously to be a voice for ourselves, when you see that this person, you need to bring this person's face to the fore, you make a conscious attempt to bring this person's face to the fore. When there is a need that this person's voice must be heard, make a conscious effort so that this person's voice will be heard. Anything to support this woman, to lift her up from that level at which she is now, and it's in your power. Consciously, intentionally do it, because I tell you, they say, which I also take, that you empower a woman, you have empowered
a nation,
the whole nation. So it is high time. People, there's a belief that women, we don't rise up for women. Women, we don't support women. Women, we talk down on women. And then let's take the example of electoral process. You realize that 80% of the people that have come out to vote, they are women. Now, what happens when we have a woman as the candidate? You just realize that in the past, we realize that we almost find no woman behind her. That is what we must put a stop to. Now, I'm not saying that because the criteria is just to be a woman. No, we have a lot of women of substance. We have a lot of women that has got value. We have a lot of women that has something to give out to the world. But the thing is that, unfortunately, they do not have the opportunity. They are within your environment. They are within my environment. They are everywhere, but they do not have that leverage that we do have. So that is what we should begin to do consciously. Now, I have a leverage. I have the platform. I have the space. I have the ability, but I do not have the quality of leadership. But I seem to see somebody in my community, somebody in my environment that has the quality of leadership, that has the quality to be in a particular position, that has the quality to do a particular thing. Why can I not use what I have at my own disposal
to better the life of that
person, so that she can better the life of the society? At a sister station, I was talking about the role of women in societal development. I said, this is the way we can develop the society. It's not compulsory that because probably I have the money, I have the platform, I should be there. No. Definitely. If somebody else can do it better than myself,
then I can do it.
Let the person be there. And we're talking about, women begin to do things, change the narrative. We can see that. Let's talk about this issue of the women in the eastern part of, is predominant in the eastern part of Nigeria. I know some other parts of the country do it, but it's predominant there, where you don't have the females having to inherit their father's property. We saw that women stood up and fought, against that. They went to the court of law, they fought, and they won. This is what we are talking about.
30 years plus after that case has been in the Supreme Court, they won.
They won because they did not relent.
Has that changed anything? I had a conversation with a father when I cited this case, and he said to us that Friday, it was on the bumper breakfast, he said to us that Friday, I will still not leave an inheritance for my daughter. Everything I own This man is in Lagos. He's from the eastern part of the country. He said, everything I own is for my son, despite the fact that my daughter is the first child. I now then asked them, I said, if your daughter is not given property and she's suffering, then what will you do when she has, and her father can afford to help? He said, if the brother chooses to do something for her or share with her, that is his prerogative. But if I feel I have more, I could do something specific in her name, just separately. But everything that I own belongs to my son.
Yes. Tumisi, you see, you just mentioned that that case was in the court of law for 30 years. So we should have at the back of our mind.
He was actually fault in that case.
That's what I'm saying.
That judgment.
That judgment. That's what I'm saying, that the point I'm trying to drive at is that we will not achieve it almost immediately. But because there's a conscious effort
to fight it,
gradually this narrative begins to change. Now, one or two women, they are a bit knowledgeable. Where do we start from? We know that the family is the bedrock of the society. Now I am aware of this practice in my part of the world, because I am enlightened, I am educated, and I have witnessed what the court of law has said concerning this. I can begin from my household. And how can I begin? I will begin by training my boy child the right way to go. Yeah, someone said to me some time ago, he said that, look, Kenny, our generation, we have entered one chance. Let us try and better the life of the next generation. That is what we are talking about. If in this present day generation, well, it seems as if it's almost a lost case, which I still strongly believe that is not a lost case. We can be gained from the next generation, and before you know what is happening, gradually the narrative begins to change. The narrative begins to take another turn. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Now, I can begin by telling my male child that these and these and these and these is not the way to go. I can begin by telling my male child, your sister is not your slave. You don't, while she is in the kitchen washing all the dishes, preparing your meals, it doesn't mean you don't have to be in the sitting room watching,
holding your legs,
and watching
and feeling
television. While we are coming back from the market, you don't have to allow her carry all the load, the baggage, because she's a girl. That is where I start from. That is where I begin to do my own some sort of gender balancing. And you see, what you impart into a child lives with that child. The child grows up with the cultural change that I have impacted into him, and that affects his generation positively. Now he grows up to be a man. He grows up to marry a wife, and when by the time he will go, he would write his will and will include his daughter. The narrative has changed there. So we might.
So even the women can change the narrative.
I'm telling you,
by being intentional about the upbringing they give their sons.
Their sons, exactly. When you put your son and your daughter on the same level, at the same leverage, then you have started from there. When the boy finishes his meal and he goes to the kitchen and he stays there and he washes up his plate, that is where you start from. You begin to tell your son, you don't have to snap at your sister. You see some children, despite the fact that the son is even younger than the daughter, the way they talk to the sister, you wonder, excuse me,
it's like a slave in their house.
Exactly. So that is where
the girls are brought up in some homes.
Yes.
Like,
so
they don't
that
matter.
is where we start from. We are changing the narrative. It doesn't mean that we neglect the present day generation. We can do some form of reorientation right now to change the mentality, change the beliefs of people. For crying out loud, all those things, they were just put into our psyche. You can change people's psyche Might not be easy though, but
you can do
it. And you see, where some other place where a woman has got the power, you see a woman with a good character, a lovable woman that the husband is all over her. She can also change the narrative
with the husband.
With the husband. And that's what we're talking about.
Press that mentality
exactly.
in
And
your
so
husband.
when the women begin to change so many narratives that has held the society bound, we talk about the female genital mutilation. These are things that we ought to stop. We talk about segregation of the women at the place of work. You go for an interview, and the interviewer begins to ask me, have you finished childbearing?